Well, I'm glad. Looks like almost all of you are still here, so that's a good sign. How do you guys feel about the exam?
Easy.
Good? Yeah.
What was the class number?
I don't know yet. I should have them graded by Sunday night. Hopefully before, but I always need a weekend somewhere in there and like 5 days to get it graded. So if it's on a Thursday, I'll have it graded by Tuesday usually. If it's a Tuesday, well, I give myself a week. I definitely get it done within a week because things happen, right? But usually I try to get it done within 5 days. So I should have it graded by Sunday. I will post it on Connect Math, and then I'll email you through Canvas. So check your Canvas email, your Zone Mail email this weekend, and when I get it done, I'll email everybody through Canvas so you know to check your scores. Yeah.
How do you grade? Do you grade on a bell curve or anything like that?
No, because a bell curve means that 10% get A's, right? 20% get B's, a bunch get C's, and then like 20% get D's, and like 10% get F's. That's what a bell curve means. A bell curve is a normal distribution. Ooh, that's a great comment. So a bell curve is a normal distribution, right? So
Is there a curve?
right? So A's, B's, C's, D's, F's. Right? And so that would mean that the majority of people would get C's, very few would get A's and F's. And I find that typically, I think as much as, I'm going to guess roughly 30% of you should get A's. That's my guess. If I curve it, then I'd have to drop out. Everybody who got a 95 and below would get a B or lower. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want to do that.
What if you do a half bell?
Yeah, so the answer to that is no. But yeah, so I'll talk about a couple more things. So the first thing is that if you didn't do well on it, it's only worth 13% of your grade. And this exam 2 has nothing to do with the first exam, almost. So if you did poorly on the first exam, that's okay, because again, it's not worth that. It's 13%. It's not that much, right? And the second exam, you can totally do well on the second exam, even if you don't understand the first exam stuff. On the flip side, if you did understand the first exam stuff, don't sit back on your laurels, because the second exam is all different stuff, right? So you gotta step it up for that too. Yeah, Brandon. Right, that's why I said horizontal and vertical. It said horizontal, parentheses, x-axis. Vertical, parentheses, y-axis. Yeah.
If I at least got the two answers right with the wrong answers,
then I think I might take off half a point total. You know. So if you mess it up for all of them, out of the 2 points, I might take off half a point. Because it's important that you know that the frequencies go here and not here. That's important, right? So, yeah. There's lots of partial credit in this. And both those questions were only worth 1 point each. So it's not like they were worth a whole lot of points. They weren't worth much. What else? Oh, yeah, and then also, AB 705, right? The idea being that a lot of people, instead of taking the prereq for this class, taking this class when you're kind of not quite prepared for it is a better preparation for taking it the second semester than it would be to take algebra and then take this class the second semester. So if you aren't doing well, that's okay. Just stay with it, because it's still, failing this class is great preparation for passing it the second time. And that's, everyone's like, yeah, that's me. No. No, and I think a lot of you guys will surprise yourselves and pass it the first time. Or not surprise yourselves and pass it the first time. Yeah?
Kind of what you told us, the vocab. I was kind of studying for the big guns, and then
Everything that was in the practice exam, if you know how to do the practice exam, you should have been all right. I know I didn't say, but like in the practice exam, you had to put the midpoints in the frequency polygon. You had to put the frequency up here, right? And you had to put for the O job, you had to put the upper boundaries here, and you had to put the cumulative frequency here. So, yeah. All right. And I know I've asked you guys too, like, what's the difference between independence and and mutually exclusive. I know that's come up in class a whole bunch of times, so I feel like you should be prepared for it. If you were in class and did the classwork, and you did the study guide, then you should have been pretty well prepared for it. Who did the study guide? Yeah, see, so you guys totally shredded this exam. As a class in general, probably. Most likely. I haven't seen them yet. I haven't finished them. I don't know until the end, because I just grade them page by page, so I have no idea how anybody did individually. It's just a page, right? So it's all anonymous, and then when I get to the end, I add them all up. Then I kind of, I mean, there might be a spot where like someone misses a whole ton of stuff, and I'm like, who the hell is this? And I look up their name. But generally speaking, I don't check your names. I have no idea who they are. I just grade them. All right. So today, we are doing 3.1 and 3.2, measures of central tendency and measures of variation. 3.1 will be super quick and easy. We're going to try to go through that pretty fast because it's all pretty familiar to you guys, and let's try not to waste time on that one. So, stay on task. That way we can go through it fast. Tuesday we have Connect Math 3.1 due, which I think is pretty straightforward, so I'm not too worried about that one. And then also Project Part 2B, and then on Thursday Connect Math 3.2 is due. Project Part 2B. So that is taking our data. You've all taken a picture of your 4 questions that you've chosen. It's going to be copying and pasting those off of the main class master file, putting them into your own Excel file or your own Google Sheets file, and then kind of cleaning them up a little bit. And by that I mean grouping them. So for example, major. Major is going to have like 20 different answers in there, maybe 24 different answers. And you really need to have 12 or fewer categories ideally. So you get to group some of them, right? Maybe you have like, maybe there's a lot of biology, then maybe you have like, and you have very few, like a couple chemistry, a couple science, a couple engineering, maybe you have like other STEM, and you throw all those guys into that, right? All the ones that are 1s and 2s or stuff like that. And maybe you have some random ones like pottery and, I don't know, duck hunting and a bunch of random ones, right, that are just really way out there, or things that aren't necessarily out there, but there are very few of them, like visual arts, graphics, or something like that, or some other stuff. Then maybe you gather those into like an other category. But your other category shouldn't have more than 10% in it. Because if your other category is that big, you should split it into like smaller others, like other technical and other non-technical, or something like that, or other computer related, right? Like, or other arts related, or something like that, or other STEM, right? You should have some kind of more specific other categories, so you can keep it under 10% for each of those categories. Is that making sense? You guys probably want to see it before it makes more sense. We'll go over it more in a couple minutes. I talked about that one, right? Be resilient, stay with it, keep working hard. Tutoring with Jim Hannum. I don't know if any of you guys have any of you guys been going to his sessions, or is he way too early for you guys? He's 4 to 5:30, Tuesdays, Thursdays. So he's kind of early for you folks. But yeah, he had some comments on that, like, let him know if you're there for him, because he gives priority in my class. He's there, he'll help other people, but he's really there to help out my students. So if you let him know, then he'll make sure he helps you guys first. And then there's some upcoming Smart Shops that are really great. If you need to fill out your FAFSA, there's also a really good chance that next year we might be giving people money just for filling out the FAFSA, even though they don't qualify for the FAFSA, just to fill it out and maybe get money, right?
This year.
I'm sorry?
Do this year. Do it this year.
No. There's talk of doing it, using our Promise Grant money to if they fill out the FAFSA, of giving people 1 semester of free tuition, possibly.
There's a guarantee, isn't there? $500 grant.
What was that?
There's already a guarantee, isn't there?
If you qualify for a Promise Grant,
Promise grant, right?
then you would get a $500, and you fill this out, then you guaranteed definitely get $500. That's what they're doing this year. They're thinking about changing that so that everybody who qualifies it, who fills one out, whether they qualify for a Promise Grant or not, you get a semester of free tuition. And then if you qualify for a Promise Grant, you also get a Promise Grant, which is better, right? And And then, we're also changing how we calculate our promised grants. So more people are going to qualify, I think, next year. I'm not sure how long it takes for them to go through that process, but I think more people will qualify next year, or it might be the year after that, but I think it's next year for the promised grant, because we're going to raise up our cost of living expenses to be more exact. Right now, our cost of living expenses are 80% of that is rent, and it should be more like 60% of that is rent. That'd be more in line with what other colleges across the state are doing. And long story, anyway, so we're changing that. And then also next Thursday, there's a statistics graphing calculator part 1 workshop that's really good, because we're going to start using that TI 8384 starting later this chapter. Okay, project part 2B. Let's take a look at that. So here is your master file. First of all, here's our Canvas site, right? If you go to part 2, here it is right there. If you click on that, it'll download and give you this handout here. And where do you find the master file? If you go back to home, if you go down to our project part 1, at the bottom of part 1 is a link to our class master file. I'll try to remember to copy that over to part 2 as well, since we need it there, but if not, it's there in part 1. So you go here, and remember, you all have those 4 questions. So say I picked, what location would you most like to visit? Okay, I'll pick that one. I'm going to right-click on the D itself. If you click on the letter, it highlights the whole column. Then I can do Control-C, and I can open up Excel, or I can go to File, New, and open up a new spreadsheet and pop it into there. So I'll click on here or there, and I'll hit Control-V, and I'll paste it into there. And say I want another one. Let's pick favorite holiday. Sure. Control-C. Go over here, Control-V. And I don't know. Fastest speed you've driven. Miles from school. I don't know. Height. Sure, we'll do height. Control-C. Control-V. And the last one. Hours of sleep you get a night. Control-C. And Control-V. So then you have all your data over here. There's a couple things to note. One is I kind of pointed out some stuff like how do you figure out the cells. So every column is a letter starting with A. Every row is a number starting with 1. So like this one here is, down here is column H and row 17. So this would be H17 right here. Good? Everybody on board with that part? That's how you figure out what row you're talking about. There's also a formula bar up here, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then there's this left corner copy thing. So we talked about how to copy the data over. I just showed you how to do that. And a couple things like editing. Right, so if you type stuff into something, and I want to type stuff in, and then I want to enter that, I can either hit enter or down arrow or left arrow or right arrow, and it will enter it into there. And then I say, oh no, I've made a mistake. I want to undo that. This little undo button right here undoes that. So then it brings it back. If you're in the middle of it and you realize that, oh, whoops, I just put my hand on this and I didn't mean to, hit escape before you hit enter, then it will pop it right back out right there. So those are kind of the useful things to help you. Undo is it's a really good friend of yours. It always works in Excel. It sometimes works in Sheets, and I don't understand when it does work and when it doesn't work in Sheets. Like, sometimes I can undo and sometimes I can't. Yeah, I don't know why. So Excel is reliable in that sense. Talked about copying and pasting. I showed you how to do that. Oh, and then also you want to copy this. So I have this copied into Sheet 1. I want to copy the whole sheet. I don't want to mess with stuff in Sheet 1. I'd rather leave Sheet 1 alone and mess with Sheet 2. So I'm just going to copy the whole thing. So this little square here between the A and the 1 up here and the upper corner up here, if you click on that, it highlights everything. And then you can do Control-C, And then see this little plus mark down here at the bottom? That creates a new sheet. And then you can just hit Control V from there in that first spot, and that will give you a copy. So this is exactly the same as the first one. It's just these are the same. Sheet 1 and Sheet 2 are the same. All right. What else? Copy paste. This kind of gives you directions on how to do this as I'm showing you. Yeah, no, I'm just raising your hand to hold it. Okay, that's okay. All right, and formula bars. So, see where it says Italy up here? Everyone see that? It's because I'm on the Italy box. If I go up here, it'll put whatever's in that box. And say I just wanted to say I would like to put what location visit. I just want to be able to see that faster and easier, so I can just location visit. And I can do that and just able edit that. I can edit things in this box. As I bump around, wherever I am is where that goes. If I want to make this, a couple other things, if I want to make this column wider so it fits everything, then if you see my little white arrow here, if I slide along, all of a sudden it becomes a double arrow, left, right. If I left click drag, I can make that bigger and make the column whatever width I want it to be. The other thing that's cool is, say I have something I want to be the same. Let me show you the sorting first. So sorting, I would highlight everything you want, all your data, and the first part, I would just sort it by column B. So data, sort range. I have it. I clicked on the header rows, so I'm going to click header rows. That's my questions. If you put the questions in, then click on that. If you ignored the questions and went below that, then don't click that. So do I want to do it on what location, favorite? Nope, I want to do it on location. We'll sort on that one, A to Z. So if I sort, it'll sort them all together on the first one. So you'll see it looks like a lot of people want to visit just one Africa, just one Alaska, Amsterdam, Antarctica, Asia. Wow, okay. Australia, a bunch of Australias, Austria. So it looks like maybe I might want to go with areas, like the Europes. I might want to change like Amsterdam to just Europe. You guys kind of follow me? Because I have way too many categories. Does everyone kind of see this? Cinque Terre, Italy, there's just way too many. Costa Rica, countryside, Cuba, there's way too many categories here. So I might just make a bunch of them Europe. So all the ones that are Europe, I'm just going to overwrite them. I'm just going to click on them and make them Europe. So this is just Europe. Oops, Europe. Click on up here to fix it in the category, in the formula area. Let's see what else is Europe. Austria is Europe. What else? Let's see. Boise. Wow, okay. Here's an Africa. I just make this Africa, right, because there's another Africa. Fiji and Bali, I could probably make those South Pacific. Or someone else just did tropical, right? Tropical island, and so like that'd be Bali, that'd be Tahiti, that'd be Bora Bora, right? Bora Bora is right, that's in Tahiti. Bali is kind of not that far from there. What else falls over there? Koh Samui falls over there. Hawaii technically would fall into like tropical islands, right? Fiji, obviously, Easter Island, all those would kind of fall into that tropical. Yeah, Easter Island's tropical. If you ever go there, bring your own soap. Soap is $3 a bar for a bar of soap.
Fiji?
No, Easter Island. Fiji was not that bad. Fiji was super cheap, actually, because there's a lot of people in Fiji. And I don't know why it's cheaper there, but stuff was cheaper in Fiji. Vietnam, that'd be Asia, right? I just would probably just make that Asia. So you probably want to, like if you have a bunch of stuff like Japan, see how I have all these Japans? I'm probably not going to make them all Asia, because there's a lot of them. So it kind of it kind of owns it by its own, you know what I mean? But I would probably make an other Asia or Asia for all the other ones that are just one or two of them are, if I only have 2 Vietnams, I probably just make that Asia, right? If I have 3 or less of something, I probably just make that all into a larger group of others. Does everyone understand what I'm saying?
If there's like one thing that's like completely random, what would you put that under?
Find an other category it fits under, and there's no other category it fits under, then make it just a general other category.
Okay.
Like, I think I would have other Asia, other European, or Europe, other blah, 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 other, South Americas, yeah.
Can you do like regions, like Southeast Asia or like...
Yeah, totally, you can totally do that, right? And same thing with majors, right? You might do like other STEM, right? Maybe there's a lot of biology, so you do the biologies alone. But maybe like the 1 math you have, and the 2 chemistries you have, and the 3 physics you have, you put them into other science or other STEM. You guys see what I'm saying? All right, so, kind of figure out that you should have no more than 12 categories. This is your group A stuff. You're only doing your group A for this because this one, your group B, should only have 12 in it. Your group Bs, I chose those on purpose because most of them only have 12 or less in them already. So you shouldn't have to do anything with the group Bs. It's only group As that you need to be doing this with. If you screwed up and you picked 2 group As, then you better change and email me and pick a group B because you don't want to be doing this twice. Right? You probably only want to do it once for the group A. All right, so that's enough about that one. And then counting. You need to count them. So here, if I count them, how do I count them? See how these 2 are alphabetical? Alphabetical, yes. Numerical. So here, well, let me put it this way. These ones over here, I'm going to do counts. So equal, count, parentheses. And if you look over here, it literally gives you this right there. You guys see that? The count function? So that you're going to use for the numerical data. And what do I want to count? I want to count all the stuff above it. So I'm just going to left-click drag and grab all of them. And then once I have them all, parentheses, enter. It counts them all for me. The nice thing is, here's a cool thing you can do. I want to copy this. So see where I have a little white arrow now? If I go here, I get those little crosshairs. You guys see the black crosshairs? When I get that, I can left-click drag, and it will copy that over to the other one too. So apparently there's 122 options here, there's 123 over here. Probably because this blank one right here is going on. So this will be the same thing, only count for column E instead of column B or A. And I could drag it back here. The problem is that these ones are alphabetical, right? So it's not going to count. There are no numbers here. So then I'd have to go into them and edit them. So I could click on one and edit it. Where do I edit it? Back up here in my formula spot up here at the top. I want to say count A because it's alphabetical. If I do that, all of a sudden it will have numbers in it. 123 instead of 0. So that, we talk about that right here. Right? So this kind of tells you kind of how to do it, generally speaking. Like your numbers might vary, but it should be like B2 to B, 140, 123, something like that. Whatever your spot is. Does that sort of make sense for folks? All right. And then once you get that one, you could left-click drag that one over to this one. And then you also need to do minimum and maximum only for the numbers, because you can't have a minimum and maximum of Christmas. What would that be? New Year's? Is that minimum? I don't know. How do you even figure that out, right? There's no minimum maximum. These are not numbers. So you only do the min-max for the numerical stuff. And that's exactly the same. Equals. All formulas have to start with equals. Equals, min, parentheses. What is this? This is D2, colon. The last one is, looks like right here. Oops. D124. So I'm going to do equals, min, parentheses, D2, colon, D124. Parentheses. Done. So the smallest value here was 56. So the shortest person is 56 inches. And the tallest person equals max, parentheses, I'm in the D column, so it's D2 colon D, what's that bottom one? 124. The tallest person is 98 inches? Is that right? I don't know. I would question that one. 98 inches?
That's 8 feet.
That's 8 feet. That's super unlikely. 8 feet 2 inches. So I'm going to go back to that person and like bug them. 90.
9 feet 8 inches.
So someone's about to get called out.
Put him on the wires.
Oh wait, did I do age? No, I didn't do it. That can't be age because the old. 92. What was it again? It was
98.
98. All right, we'll do this. I gotta stop it. I'm gonna do it this way. All right, edit. Find and replace. 92. Fine. There we go.
98.
Oh, 98. 98. Where is it? Oh, there it is. JE. Remember JE is, we better talk. And we gotta fix that, like, today, before anybody else starts bumping in there and grabbing stuff. Did anybody already grab tall, height, in inches to do this already? If you did already, fix it, and we'll figure out what that should be. Okay. So I think you guys are good with that. Let's move on back to our regularly scheduled programming. Chapter 3. So we're going to cover today measures of center and measures of variation. The first thing is measures of central tendency. Patrick, go ahead and read.
Measures of central tendency. What do we mean by average? Mean, median, mode, mid-range, or weight?
Yep. So the first three you're really familiar with. The fourth one I talked about briefly once before, and the way to mean might be, will take a little bit more effort on your part, but this is a fairly straightforward section. These we've talked about before. They were present in the, they were, you know, those happened before. Ashley, go ahead and read this part.
Measures of central tendency. A statistic is a characteristic or measure obtained by using the data value from a sample. A perimeter is a characteristic or a measure obtained by using all the data values census for a specific population.
Right? So statistics, that's our stuff that we have from a sample. Parameter would be a characteristic measured from something from the whole population. General rounding rule. General rounding rule is you use don't round along the way, only round at the end. So in other words, as you're going through stuff, keep lots and lots of decimal places as you go through, and then at the end, after you have your answer, then round your answer to however many decimal places you need. The only exception to that is there will be a handful of problems in your Connect Math that specifically say to round to 2 decimal places, around intermediate steps to 2 decimal places, and in those cases you do. But if it doesn't say, then don't round along the way. Does that make sense? Keep lots of decimal places and then just round at the end. So here, for example, we're going to find the mean to the nearest tenth. How do you find the mean? You add them up, divide by how many there are, right? So we'd add them up and then divide by how many there are. If you round it along the, you should add them up first, and then divide, but say if you rounded along the way, and you added those two and then rounded to the nearest tenth, and then those two and added to rounded to the nearest tenth, and so forth, then you end up getting 4.2 instead of 4.3, so you'd be off by a little bit. And you don't want to be off and be like, why did I get this answer? And you're banging your head against the wall, and you don't know why you did everything right, Connect Math isn't taking it, it's because you rounded along the way when you shouldn't have. Another issue is no parentheses. So what's going on with that one? Should the average of these numbers be 18 anything? I'm averaging 5 numbers, between 3 and 5 something. The average should be between 3 and 5. It shouldn't be 18. Why is it 18? What's up with this? What's the problem with this?
The last number is being divided by 5 instead of all of them.
Right, only the last number is being divided by 5 instead of all of them. So really, when we have a fraction, 5.42 plus 3.22 plus 5.24 plus 4.34 plus 3.04 divided by 5, you don't realize it, but there are invisible parentheses around the numerator and the denominator. So you need to put them here inside of your calculator also, and then it'll calculate it correctly. The easiest way to do that, if you think you're not going to remember to do that or how to put the parentheses in, is just find the numerator, write it down with like 4 or 5 decimal places, find the denominator, write it down with 4 or 5 decimal places, and then divide them. So find your numerator, find your denominator, and then divide them. That's the simplest way of doing it. Otherwise, make sure you put parentheses around your numerator and denominator. Especially say if you have something like this, 5 minus 1, then you'll wreak havoc if you don't have that parentheses there. All right. Next, Austin, go ahead.
Mean. The mean is the quotient,
Quotient, yeah.
quotient of the sum of the values divided by the total number of values divided by the symbol X notation bar is used for the sample mean. You want me to read out that?
No, I just realized that JE dropped the class, so I'm going to make it 8'2". What do you think? 6'2"?
No, like 8'2".
I'm going to make that 6'2". I don't know what to do. I mean, it's not accurate, but I'm just going to arbitrarily change it because I don't know what else to do.
Is there another height on
81
it?
inches.
What was that?
81.
What? I'm sorry?
81 inches.
That's still really tall.
For blue Kobe.
It's too soon. That hurts.
She's
Go
not even
6'4", 6'5" at least. Give it a little gap.
Who am I? Let's see. Oh. No, I'm me. I totally should be able to change this. It's not letting me edit it. That's trouble. Oh boy. All right, I'll figure that out later. I'll edit that. Okay, so here, did you read this part yet?
I did. Well, not the equation.
Okay, right. So what's that symbol called? It's called X bar. Sample mean. Who's ever heard of it before? Good, so some of you. The rest of you will intimately know X bar by the end of the semester. X bar, it comes up over and over and over again all over the place. What it is you add up all the X's, divide by how many there are. How many there are is N. That's your sample size. You're also going to become really familiar with that as well. N is your sample size. These little things, subscripts, those are just labels. X1, X2, X3. They could easily be called names like X of John, X of Ralph, X of Steve, right? It's just a way of keeping track of them. They're just labels, those little subscripts. So it means add up all the X's, this sum, who's ever seen the sum symbol there? Really? No, only a few of you have seen that? This comes up a lot, like it's on your calculator, I think, a lot of times, it's in Excel as well. It means sum them, add them up, S-U-M, sum, add them all up. So add up all the X's, divide by the number of them you have. For Greek population, it's mu, just like the Pokemon Mew, right? And it's used for the mean. So the population mean mu, again, same thing, add up all the x's, divide by how many there are. Yes?
So does x bar mean the one in the middle, or does it mean the entire equation? Or,
X bar means the average of all of them.
okay,
So kind of when you guys think of average, right, add them all up, divide by how many there are, that's what you think of when you think of average. We call that the mean, which is the most common average. Right, there's several measures of average. That's the most common one. And then this one here, mu. Mu is the Greek letter M, which could be written as extreme as that or as extreme as that. So it could be written either one of these ways, right? That's a little extreme and that's a little extreme the other way. But it looks kind of like an M and it looks kind of like a U at the same time, which is useful because it's just MU mu. But any one of those is kind of acceptable. All right. Rounding rule. How about Brandon?